Welcome to Drinks with D. Community, entertainment, and conversation.
Hello, everybody. It's Dee Daniels, and I can't believe already episode 6 of Drinks with D. And I've known her maybe 7-8 years. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. So everybody, welcome to the show, Drinks with D. Sheila Peterson. Sheila, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you know what? I think that maybe we're going to start off with the bang because Teacher of the Year. Are you still reigning Teacher of the Year for here in North Dakota, or is your reign over?
Yeah. It's like being Miss North Dakota, except for that.
You didn't get a sash or anything, did
no,
you?
I don't think I would have competed well in that competition. I don't have those talents, but I will name a new one at the end of September, I believe, and then my official duties end and their start January 1. But there's just kind of that gray area where if somebody wants you to come do something, you want to be involved or whatever. But officially, our state will announce at the end of September, and then I will be done at the end of December.
Okay, so that's so it's almost like a pageant, like Miss America kind of a thing. And
yeah.
I guess I didn't realize, because I for years were like, oh, Teacher of the Year, that's kind of cool. And you're probably the first Teacher of the Year that I've actually known who's won it. But you travel. I mean, I just saw on Facebook not that long ago that you were in Washington. You got to dress up pretty and go see all the fancy, political stuff there and the White House and all that good stuff, right?
So we got to when you go on these trips, you get to sit front and center with some of the biggest voices. So we got to spend time talking to people from like the Department of Education, asking questions, getting the opportunity to learn more. Secretary Cardona actually came in and met with us, so that was really neat. We got an opportunity to go to Smithsonian and get behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So we got to walk. I keep telling everybody because this just blew my mind. But we got to go into this. I can't remember what they called it, but it's where they keep the minerals that don't go on exhibit.
Okay.
So the Smithsonian has this room, and it's behind. We had to go through 3 lock checkpoints, and the guy was like, "Hurry up!" And I thought he was joking, but they were serious. We had to get through the door in a certain amount of time. But you walked into this room, and there was just filing cabinets full of minerals from all over the world.
Really?
I was standing next to it. I took a picture because I've got North Dakota, there's Namibia, but come to find out, you can call the Smithsonian and ask them to get a sample of a rock or a mineral. I also learned that do not call them rocks, call them minerals. I did learn that from the geologist.
That's bourgeois.
Right. Yeah. And so they took us back further and further and further, and we finally got into this room, and my friend from Hawaii, their state teacher of the year, Jackie, was like, well, okay, we want to see all the diamonds. Pull the diamonds out. And the geologist is like, no, you don't. And we're like, yeah, no, I think we do want to see them. And he's like, let me show you a few things first. And he just started pulling out mineral after mineral after mineral. Some of them look like they came from Mars or something.
Really?
This is in the United States. This is in the world. Somebody cracked this, who cracked the rock open to find this amazing thing or this mineral?
I can barely crack open a nut, I mean.
Right. So, now I want to, every time I see a cool rock, I'm like, I wonder what minerals are inside.
I never really thought of that.
Yeah, very cool. And I have pictures, but we're not allowed to share them on social media.
I imagine.
So when we're done, I would love to show you.
I imagine there's a lot of stuff because, it's government. It's top secret. They've got their secrets, and. Yeah. Wow. So you have to have a special, I guess, admission to be able to do that? I mean, not just anybody can go look at these. You can schedule it.
Do they
do a background check and stuff? Make sure you're not a mineral thief.
Yeah, we did have to turn in some things before, Washington Week to get clearance to things, but they really did make us feel celebrated as educators.
And they had the president and everything. They had Teacher of the Year from every state was there, and I saw some of your stuff on Facebook. They had looked like some pretty fancy parties and things like that. I mean, what else did you guys do? How long were you guys there for that?
We were there for a week. The first day kind of did some training, and we do a lot of professional learning, talking about advocacy and how to better support our students in education, and everything comes down to being focused on, how do we make lives better for our kids. And then it kind of progressed into getting to go to the Smithsonian's and see what they all had to offer educationally, and then we did some, I'm trying to think, there's so many things we did that week. One of the big things we got to end on was getting to go to the White House and have a state dinner, and that was a whole experience as well. from the time you walk in the door and they give you a card and somebody announces you every new room you came into. It said it was a 1940s classic movie, or if you watched the old Annie and they went to the Rockettes, and they're going to the movie. That's what it was like. I couldn't believe it. Every time you would walk into a new room, there was another orchestra playing, and just beautiful music, and you just couldn't believe it was real. It was very surreal.
So did the White House seem different than you kind of envisioned in your mind?
Well, I had been through the White House as a tourist when I was 20 years old with my college basketball team, and this time was a lot different. Just noticing every little detail, all the artwork, the beautiful rich colors of everything, and the rooms that were cordoned off when you went on the tour back in 2000 or 1999, I guess, were now open, and we could go in these rooms.
Oh wow!
And I went to go take a picture, and if you know me, I've got 8 feet of arms because I'm 6'2", and I reached across to put my arm around my friend, and I bumped into this wall sconce. And they had these they call them military socialites, and they're military personnel who served, who also do service in the White House as well. And so as I bumped into it, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And my husband was very embarrassed, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "It's okay.
Can't take you anywhere."
Yeah. He's like, "It's okay. They want you to touch everything while you guys are here." And we're like,
"Really?
You mean touch everything?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Right there. This is the seat that Roosevelt sat in for the fireside chats. Please sit in it. And if you would look at anything too long, these people would come over and just start telling you the history. Like, this painting was, curated by so-and-so this year, given to the president this year. For this reason," and they would just break down the history. They knew everything. It was like a human Google. It was amazing.
Oh wow!
And then my friend Louise from Mississippi pokes her head out of this wall, like just appears out of a wall, and I'm like,
a ghost.
She's like, "Hey, girl," and I'm like, we all have our different accents, right? And she goes, "You got to come in here and take a picture," and I'm like, "Okay, where are you guys right now?" She's like, we're in the bathroom at the White House. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think I want to I've been really worried about embarrassing North Dakota this whole year, and I just don't know if this is going to be the thing I want to be doing." But I'm like, I have to go see what's inside of there. And it was unbelievable. Like, when you washed and dried your hands, there was a cloth, like actual cloth to dry your hands with. And there was an attendant in there, and she's like, "Well, take the cloth with you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think so." She's like, "No,
I stole this from the White House."
Yeah, no, but the lady goes, "No, we want you to have it." And I'm like,
"We're not going to we don't do laundry."
Yeah, and I'm like, and there was even like the official like press or seal of the White House on it, but I just felt weird. I'm like, I'm not going to take this, but I did get my picture. There was a chandelier. It's posted on Facebook. I don't think anybody even knows that picture was taken in the restroom because it was...
There's a chandelier in the restroom.
Oh, it is so beautiful in there. I would have put a couch and hung out there and read a book.
Well, so it's definitely a restroom. You can rest in.
Yeah, yeah. And
so what was the coolest thing that you saw at the White House? The bathroom? No? That's kind of sad to say.
Well, I mean, just growing up the way that I did, and, and I tell kids at school all the time, when somebody... He says, "Well, I can't do this and I can't do that, because of this life circumstance." And I always tell them that your difficult life circumstances are going to be your reasons you're going to succeed, not your excuse to fail. And I grew up, I've been to the food shelf. I've had my electricity shut off. You've been through that life. And so to sit and be in there and just take in and just feel like my mom passed when I was 18, and she worked really hard. She was the kind of mom that did all the things when she was a teenager. So my friends would always be like, "Don't ask your mom," because my mom would catch us before we'd even done anything wrong.
Because she knew.
Right, yes.
Just by looking at you.
Yeah, she had worked really, really hard that my life was going to be different. And so I think the biggest thing to me when I was just every step of the way, just not believing that I'm there. And I just kept thinking through, my kid will be able to say, "My mom was at the White House."
Yeah.
Once.
And my mom was Teacher of the Year.
Yeah, my grandkids or whatever. You know what I mean? My nieces, my nephews, because I think about the power of my aunt. My aunt, the things that she did and how she accelerated her life. And she really motivated me because I was like, "Oh, she can do it. So can I."
Well, yeah.
And so I just thought the moments there and the things people gave up for you to have those opportunities to be there. I know there was many cool things to look at and see, but
it had to be overwhelming. I mean, it's just a lot. I mean, you come from North Dakota and you're, in the White House.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't absorb it all,
Well, and so you walk into the dinner and, every school had sent something from their school for their teacher. So you're having all these very emotional moments. Yeah. And And I'm not a big crier, but that week I probably cried like 10 times just because
Your husband's very impressed. He's like, what?
I would get interviewed and they're like, what do you think about this? And I'd be like, I've got this opportunity because generationally, I was people ahead of me thought it was important to get me here. And so anyhow, I got to my table and there sat a watercolor painting of Whacter Middle School. Oh. And then when he opened it up, it was a picture of me with Sydney Hangelson, our former North Dakota, Miss North Dakota. Okay. And just an amazing human being. Yeah. And if anybody was going to be a model of like our school, and I was so happy to see her on there and just have that piece of home. And I did tear up then.
That's also pretty awesome.
Yes. And then we sat down and everybody's food comes at the same time. Yeah. And, like, we were trained on Monday about, like, how to put your forks and knives on your plate because it symbolizes to the people that are working with your food, cooking food, everything. Like, I liked it. I didn't like it. Wow. I'm full, but it was good. I mean, like, so you're sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to put your forks and knives so that you get it right because you don't want the person making the meal to feel bad. But when they sat us down, they didn't sit you with your person, your plus one. Oh. We were all scattered amongst our table. And so the lady from the head of the CCSSO, who's like our Teacher of the Year organization, she works in the office. She's not the head, but she's like, you know what? You guys just sit with whoever you want. And she starts moving the name cards around. Well, the military socialite was like, hey, we've got you planned for a reason. And so, but she's like, nah, don't worry about it. Just sit wherever you want. So we sat. Well, my husband got seated next to the secretary, the social secretary for the White House, and all the food came in, and it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. You didn't even want to eat it because it was like artistry, every single thing. And then I've got like a hot dog and cheeseburger palate, so this amazing food got set in front of me, but it was like seafood ravioli, and the sauce was so good, and I even tried it, but I don't. Yeah. Like I said, I just don't have a fancy. Yeah. I've got just a really not a great palate. And my husband got somebody's vegetarian option.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so he got this, like, really beautiful, like, tower of different things, eggplant, all these things put together. So he tried it. He didn't like it. Yeah. I tried mine. I didn't like it, but we were trying not to be rude, so... And then the whole time, the social secretary is looking over to see why we're not eating our food. So we're trying to eat bits and pieces because we're so grateful for the opportunity. Yeah. But so that was
I suppose they had you sitting like that because like, okay, you had a vegetarian meal. Right. It's like, remember in airlines when you used to fly and they used to give you food and the person would be like, oh, I forgot I had the vegetarian meal and that's the only one, Yes. And you're like... I don't want the vegetarian meal. I didn't. Yeah,
it looked beautiful.
Maybe they should serve hot dogs and hamburgers at the White House.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they, like I said, I don't get into politics too much. Yeah. That's not really what I do. I just want to teach kids. But I was really grateful for the opportunity because they really did roll out the red carpet for us, and we were. Just everything was, the dinner plate had the seal of the president, and you know what I mean. And it was just so.
It's like once in a lifetime thing. Most average people are never going to have that kind of.
No.
And for some people, that's probably once a week kind of a thing. They go to, the rich and famous go to these fancy dinners. I've been to 5-course meals before, like when I lived in New York, and I'm like, I sit down and I'm like, why are they all these forks?
Yes.
And then like, that's a salad fork, and I'm like, can't I just use the same fork? And the salad's not going to know it's a different fork, but.
Well, so we're like, they even took us through that one day, like how your forks work and all that stuff. And, break up your bread, butter each piece, all of those things. So sitting at the table, like I said, all night long, just don't embarrass North Dakota. Don't embarrass North Dakota.
I see you in the national news. Teacher of the Year in North Dakota.
Yeah, because I've had some
She buttered her whole piece of bread.
Yes, right. And I've had some pretty serious imposter syndrome over this year. It's been really hard, actually, because the other 3 finalists were absolutely amazing. And so to sit at a lot of these things and go... I know Trisha would have done this better, or I know Megan would have done this better. You know what I mean? Like,
you were selected
or Andy would have done this better.
And,
we've just got some really amazing teachers, and so that just thinking over and over, don't embarrass anybody. And so then the CCSO lady next to me accidentally took my salad fork. Yeah. And I saw her take it. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, no, I don't have a salad.
I'm going to have to eat with the wrong fork.
The shame. The shame.
Because you're like, oh, don't embarrass North Dakota. Don't embarrass North Dakota. That's all
North
going through my
Dakotans
head.
are going to care if you
Yes,
eat the wrong
right.
fork.
But I'm like, oh, she took my fork. But now I can't even look at her and go, listen, you've got my fork. I need my fork back. Like, so as we're going through the meal, now I'm short one fork. As we're getting down to the next thing and the next thing. And so pretty soon I'm like, I don't think
That's a lot of stress at a meal.
It was a lot of stress. I'm like, I'm just going to have to eat pizza after this. And which is ridiculous because it was so fabulous, everything they had.
I know, yeah, but
so,
you feel like you're on, like
everyone's
staring at you.
So the president wasn't supposed to be there, and we're sitting at our table, and some would say it was a bad seat, but I would say it was an amazing seat because it was I was right as everybody left the room, they all had to walk by me.
Okay.
There was a certain way that you traveled through the room. And the windows were open because it was so hot. There was like 90 degrees there that week. I sweat everywhere I was going.
Because this was like in May?
Yes, It was too hot. Coming from North Dakota.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the curtain on the window started to kind of move a little bit, and I could hear, and I thought, man, I cannot believe they're letting the car, like that car's getting that close to the White House,
Oh, it was a chopper.
Yes. So I was kind of sitting out in the walkway just a little bit, just because of where we were seated. You wanted to try to see, and everybody staggered around these round tables.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of out in the walkway a little bit, and I've got football player shoulders, right? And all of a sudden, the Secret Service guy just bumps into me, and he says, "Holy," fill in the blank. And I look at yes, holy moly. And I look at my husband, and I'm like, I don't think he's supposed to be talking like that in here. Like, that's such a surprise. And then about 5 minutes later, the guy comes in and says, "Now announcing the President of the United States." And
oh, no. And I don't have my right fork. What am I going to do?
Yeah, he's going to know. And so he came in and he spoke and whatever. And then at the end, he's going to walk right by us. And so the lady next to me is like, "Hurry up, get your camera out, get out there. You got to shake his hand. You got to, and people are trying to get across the table. And I'm like in the way because I'm gigantic. And so I feel bad about that. I've been apologizing to people about that still to this day, but just kind of the kids at school were like, "Did you touch him?" No, I said I haven't got involved. Like, I said I just didn't feel right about that because for many reasons, but I was just so grateful for the opportunity.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
and then what were you gonna do? Just stick your hand out there as they're walking by?
Well, I'm sure. I mean,
other people did. I did not.
Yeah.
I don't know, but. It was a pretty magical
I don't know what
evening.
I would have done in that situation. I mean, sometimes like I've even met like rock stars and stuff, and like either you're just tongue tied or you're like,
I just want to sit from afar and like people watch. Like,
well,
if I could wear sunglasses
and you
everywhere,
have to kind of read if people want to be approached or not.
Yes.
Because some people, like obviously the president showed up for a reason. He wanted to meet you all or make an appearance.
Yes.
But yeah, sometimes they don't want to. They just want to be left alone. Like if there's an average Joe out of the street, it's like
right. Just let me.
I mean, I even see like. TV people in our community out, and I'm like, oh, I go, that's whoever from whatever channel, and my friends are like, oh, go say hi, and I'm like, they're out with the other ones. I mean,
right.
I used to hate that when I was on radio all the time because if I wasn't on, then they come up, D. Daniels, you know what you should play on the radio? They used to come up to me, and I'm like, no, please tell me. No one ever tells me what I should play on the radio. It's like that. So you said you had did these friends that were all teachers from the other states, were you friends with them before? Or is this kind of you met through the year of connection? Mm-mm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my biggest goal when I've gone to all these things, and just kind of how I've gone through my career is like find the people who are smarter, better, faster than you, right? Mm-hmm. And sit at the table with these people. And so I've just tried really hard over this year when we get together, because we get together, we've gotten together twice now. And we're going to go to space camp here in a month. But
cool.
I just try my hardest to try to get to everybody's table.
Yeah,
and learn about their state, learn about the things that they're doing, and things that they're advocating for. How do they get these things going? And just trying to learn as much as I possibly can. People think that we're out just doing having fun, and I am having fun through learning. But most, you start usually at 7:00 in the morning, and you'll be on until 7:30, 8:00 at night, and so. It's a lot of going back to your hotel room and working on some work or whatever, but try to at least one night every week that we're out, because all of these teachers are either on sabbatical and doing a lot of public speaking, or they're like us in North Dakota where they are still working a full-time job and then also trying to be of service when asked.
Well, I know you were still doing all of your regular peer-to-peer events and things like that while you're traveling and doing whatever. Because I know a couple times when I tried to connect with you, you're like, well, I'm out of the state. I was in Arizona. I was wherever.
I've had lots of really cool opportunities, but so it's like everybody, when you're done for the day, you've got other things you still got to keep up with. So, and just checking email and doing those types of things. But I did one day, because we're in North Dakota, right? And I loved Cheesecake Factory. And so when we were in San Jose, the first night we were there, and we were supposed to eat on our own, and so everybody's talking about what they're doing. And that morning I said, I'm going to a Cheesecake Factory. And they're like, you're going to a Cheesecake Factory? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, who's going with you? I said, I don't care. Whoever wants to come, I'm just telling you, I'm going to go. I'm leaving the lobby at this time.
Yep.
And so I'd had several other friends, and I've made really good friends with, like, Colorado, Mississippi, Las Vegas, Nevada, I should say, and Vermont. And they were all like, can we come to Cheesecake Factory? I'm like, anybody can come. Yeah. And so now every time we've gone,
they go to Cheesecake Factory?
We do have one day we go to the Cheesecake Factory. And so the Cheesecake Factory, we went together, and then on the way home, we Ubered a Lyft. Or Ubered a Lyft. That's kind of ironic, isn't it? Anyways.
Apparently you had drinks at the Cheesecake
No, actually, no. I do not drink, actually.
I know you do.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, and then people think I'm such a good time, but I'm like, I promise I'm not. I go to bed at 8:30. But
don't worry, I go to sleep at 9.
The Tesla came to pick us up. And we're all looking. There's 6 of us, and we're looking at each other like,
who's riding on the hood?
No, there was 5. I said 5 or 6. But they're like, yeah, I don't think. And like I said, I'm gigantic. Mm-hmm. And this guy rolls up, and he opens up the trunk and pulls up the jump seat.
Oh.
So my friend from Colorado and Vermont are like little tiny ladies. So I have this picture. It's just hilarious of the 2 of them in the back seat. And so we've just been bonded ever since. We call ourselves the Cheesecake Crew, and.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, my gosh. We laughed so hard, and the guy in the Tesla just drove faster and faster because I think we were cackling so much. I mean,
he's like, I got to get
I got to get these ladies out of this. Yes, I got to get these ladies out of this car. Yeah.
You know, I have to tell a quick story about you because it was last fall. We were at some kind of special needs conference. I can't remember the name of it last fall. I was on a board talking about self-directed respite or all that. And you had a bunch of your students, your peer-to-peer kids there. I remember bumping into you going, because I know you were nominated for Teacher of the Year then. And I said something to you like, you're going to win that Teacher of the Year. And you go to me, no, I'm a gym teacher. I'm not going to win. And I'm like, and then you won. I'm like, aha. I said to my husband, yep, gym teachers. But you're more than just,
Oh, yeah.
Or they don't call them gym. They call them physical
educators.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. I'm old, so I use the old terms and stuff. But, I mean, you're more than that. And you've been at Whacter for like quite a while now, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been?
I just finished my 14th year.
Okay. And then, so obviously you're more than physical education. Do you teach other classes, right?
Yep. I teach peer-to-peer as well. Yeah. And then I just kind of over the years, whatever they've asked.
Like sub and whatever.
Well, like I've taught English, I've taught reading strategies and then interventions. They want us to do 21st century life skills, so I created a class for that. Kind of whatever they need, they just kind of just say yes.
So
yes.
Where were you at before Whacter?
I was in South Dakota. I spent 2 years in Huron, South Dakota, and then my first teaching job was in Chamberlain.
Okay.
And that was my first 6 years of teaching. And then we ended up here. My husband got an opportunity that we just couldn't pass up.
And so you're from South Dakota then?
I'm from the south side of the Twin Cities.
Oh. So you're from, I said I didn't know that.
Yeah.
From Minnesota. I'm trying to say, because I know, because your daughter is, it's a year older than my son. And I think being in can I say that your daughter's on the spectrum as well? And so being in that community, you kind of just run into parents.
Yeah.
And I made that assumption with other people I've interviewed that I've known 10 plus years. I just assumed they grew up here.
Yeah.
And no, they didn't. I mean, I didn't grow up here either. But yeah, so Minnesota, and then did you live there and met your husband there, or how did that all come about?
I so grew up in the cities, and then when it came time for to go to college, like basketball was my avenue to get me where I wanted to go. And so I can remember college coaches saying, well, what do we need to get you to come to school here? And I'm like, pay the most you can for my education. I'll be there. I said, I don't really care. I said, I will make it wherever I go. I don't care because I just want my college degree.
Yep.
And because in my family, I'm like the first person on either side to have a college degree.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's just really important to me to get that done, and real important to my family, like my grandparents, my parents, everybody. That was just an expectation. And so I ended up in Madison, South Dakota. and went to school there and played basketball, and then got my first teaching job, and then I met my husband, and I moved to him. I always say I should have made him move to me. Chamberlain's is like, if you ever get a chance, it's a beautiful...
What part of the state is that?
So if you've ever crossed the state of South Dakota on I-90, which I'm sure you probably haven't, but it's directly the center of the state of South Dakota.
Okay.
And you pass through, you pass the Missouri River there, but the Missouri River is nice and wide and deep. And
Oh, really?
Yes,
I haven't been. I've mostly been to either side of South Dakota. I've been.
Yeah.
You go to the Sioux Falls side, you go to the Rapids side, kind of.
No, it was a wonderful community and like really valued, really good educational community. I mean, I have students that are doctors and students that have been on Broadway, and you know what I mean, from a town of 4,500 kids. So
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, and the educators that I worked with young in my career, like I learned so much. Just having the opportunity to be, they taught me a lot about teaching. But and then we moved up here for my husband's job, and
you fell in love. I mean, Bismarck's a great town.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say I'm from a small community Elgin out west, but I mean, Bismarck's probably the only town in the state I'd live in, honestly. I mean, it's nice to go to visit Fargo and things, but I just like it because it's not too big and got the outdoors with the river, and you've got and for me, it's an hour drive to go to my family farm and whatever. I think it's just a great community.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no complaints really.
No, like I said, I grew up in the cities, and as a kid, I always thought I was going to live in a big city, and as an adult, I would never move back to the big city.
Well, I think if you and I lived in New York right after high school, and I did that 3 years, and I'm like, okay, I feel like every person at some point in their life should live in a city, and then they appreciate a smaller community like Bismarck, even though Bismarck's grown. I mean, I look at our schools and how they're busting, and a lot of them are busting at the seams and things like that. So, I mean, good old North, especially this time of year, good old Bismarck, North Dakota.
Well, that's what people, in this past year and the opportunity of traveling, and people, oh, you're from North Dakota, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how is it? I said, it's amazing. And you almost don't want to tell them the secret about how great it is. I'm like, I'm really proud of our state, both for like the opportunities that we have here. The living is wonderful. Our educational system is great. Our parents, our families are, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a great place to be.
It is a good community. I mean, every place I think has got its negative side, but I mean, basically, when you get down, and everybody, you run into people all the time, and it's like it's a small world thing. Oh, that I'm dating your cousin. What? Something like that. You're like, what? I always say when I run into people, everybody knows at least one person from Elgin, and you start talking to them, they're like, well, I know this person from Elgin. I'm like, everybody knows. I mean, and Elgin was a small community, so it's kind of funny.
I'm finding that even when I go to engage with people from different states. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you start out with, you're from where? Oh, and do you know? And they're looking at you like, I don't really care. Like we're not playing the Kevin Bacon game here.
I feel that North Dakota's got a bad rap. When I lived in New York, I remember people could not pick out North Dakota on the map. Yeah. This was like late 80s, early 90s. Say what you want about Googling and stuff, but it's like, how did you graduate high school? Didn't you have to do all 50 states on the map? And they always thought we were North Carolina. I'm like, no, we're up by Canada. Yeah. And then they'd always say to me, oh, I think I flew over there once. Well, of course you probably did.
Have, yes, many times, yes.
No, it's a great place to live. So, it's amazing. So we touched on a little bit. Let's go back to that. I want to talk a little bit about peer-to-peer. And I feel like maybe a lot of people don't know what peer-to-peer. Obviously, we're special needs parents, and you're an educator and stuff. But how long is peer-to-peer been going on in our community? It's been quite a while, right?
I think quite a long time. I am just kind of new to the scene. I know, like within our school, Kim Brecht and Dallas Hinderer really worked hard, and Riley Reel to get a club going prior to COVID. And I think that, I want to say maybe 2016, even as early as that they had started. And I know Sarah Bohr at Century has been really,
Yeah, and I believe, it's all middle schools in our community, and I believe all the high schools all have their peer-to-peer as well. So, and I personally talked to, at Horizon, the peer-to-peer groups, and I think maybe we should kind of explain to people what peer-to-peer is, and if they ever, they have kiddos that might be interested in, as a new school year, you have to be an 8th grader in middle school, whatever, and what it all involves, I guess.
Yeah, so each one of our 3 middle schools, so I got brought into it, 2 years ago. My principal just said, hey, we want to get this as a class. We really want it. This is something we think is important. And it's one of our pillars, for Bismarck Public Schools is inclusion. And so when he put me in this position, then we talked a little bit about what we wanted it to look like. And I just know from my own personal perspective, a lot of times my kid just says, I want to be seen like every other kid. Yeah. And so while she's appreciated all the kindness and everything everybody's done for her, and as a parent, I know it's been helpful for people to be aware, right, of how she operates and moves in life. But so when I stepped into this, I didn't want it to be deficit focused, but more asset focused, right? And I also wanted it to be a place where kids just were able to go be kids.
Yes.
I don't know how things were for you when you were going through your diagnosis, timeline, but it was not an enjoyable experience at all. And
no.
And anytime I hear a parent that's going through it, like, I'm like, just come over. I want to visit with you. Yeah. It's going to be okay, but like, just thinking about when your kid was younger, the amount of things that you wanted them to be able to do. And I have had experiences when my daughter was younger where people said she couldn't be somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've experienced that, and we don't experience that now. She's, grown, but like, that was pretty horrific to be a new young parent, and
you're trying to navigate, first of all, through the diagnosis and what to do. And they don't hand you a handbook.
No.
And if you get that diagnosis, they're like, oh, your kid has autism. Have a wonderful day.
Right. And you start going through this, like, in your head, like, what all the things that you think that they might not do someday. You know what I mean? And you're like, what if they don't do this? And what if they're not able to do this? And I can remember my husband, like, looking at me and God bless him, because he was like, she's not dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I thought that about my son. I thought, okay, he doesn't have an illness, a terminal illness.
Right.
He's healthy.
Yes.
He just socially and whatever.
Yes.
He's got a different set of needs.
So just changing that mindset a little bit about, like, what you hope the future looks for, and so when I work in our peer-to-peer program, it's what I would hope would be available for not only my kid, but any kid, to just be a kid. Yeah. I love when we get to the point when kids ask, hey, I want to go hang out with so-and-so. And I'm like, well, why are you asking permission?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, well, don't we have to tell you? And I'm like, well, why do you want to hang out with them?
Yeah.
Like, well, because they're my friend.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's
so
awesome.
What do you do when you want to hang out with your friends?
Yeah.
Oh, I call their mom? Yeah. And I'm like, yes. And so the kids are really taking it and running. But that was, to me, the biggest goal. And a lot of times kids will ask, like, what's so-and-so's particular disability or whatever. And I tell them in the beginning, I'm like, you're going to be really disappointed with me as a teacher, because we'll do some research when we need to do the research. But what I want for you is to see every human as a human. We talk about inclusion is not just like, oh, we're going to be nice to Bob today or Sally. It's that Bob or Sally can be themselves. Yeah. And we're okay with it, right? Like I got things I do, you got things you do, we all got things, right? But for whatever reason, this population, everybody knows their things. So how do we get to a point where everybody gets to all have their things and hang out in a room? Because we talk about
we're all
that.
cool with it. Cool with being different,
Yes, and just accepting the differences everybody has, and realizing that we all have differences.
Every single person is different and has a challenge.
Yes, and some might need some modifications or adaptations to make the environment more welcoming for them. But I bet you do too. You talk to the kid, hey, you were afraid to go up and give your confirmation speech last week. Remember your mom wrote your note because you were scared about. Yeah, I said, so would have there been a modification or adaptation that would have made that environment more welcoming for you? Yeah. Well, yeah. I said, so see, you have a thing too. We all got a thing. So that's been kind of our biggest goal. And then, as we go through units, my biggest thing is, like, know your person first, right? Beyond their disability or whatever. That's part of who they are as a person, but that's not the definition of Sheila, D, whoever. And so the kids are like, well, what if I need to know about so-and-so, or I need to know about what to do? I said, well, you have access to any case manager you want in the building. You have access to, we bring in speakers that are, OT, speech, assistive technology. I said, you now have access to all of those people. They're like, you mean I can just call them up and ask them questions about how I can... I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm not an expert on any of this. Right now, I'm a coordinator. And that's really my goal is, like, how do we... I don't necessarily want to be the teacher. I want to be a facilitator. Yeah. Right? I want to facilitate this opportunity for all kids. And I want to facilitate the opportunity to create that culture where, like, those kids... It changes the way that we see the world. Yeah. Right? So that's kind of what... That's how I envision it, right? And that's kind of how we've been operating. And then we try to plan... We try to provide opportunities for kids to hang out so that hopefully they'll get to a point where they organically create them themselves.
Well, I have to tell you, though, even with Grand Up at Horizon, and he's got some great peer-to-peer kiddos there, he turned 13 last fall. We had a swimming birthday party, and I got a couple names of some peer-to-peer girls, and they came on a Sunday afternoon to the pool and swam at his birthday and had cake, and it was a great time. I mean, and that's, it's a weekend. Right. They're doing stuff like that. I mean, and even you're, like, you guys have wiffle ball, and we've had... I know movie nights and soccer, and we have the all-inclusive. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just amazing, though, that, you think about the kids that age, 8th graders, what are about 14, 15, and they're going to give up some of their free time to spend with their pals. It's just their friends and things like that, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I told you, I have spoken to some of the peer-to-peer at Horizon, and I'm always amazed by how they might not even know anybody with special needs, and that's just how they're built, or they're wired, or they're raised. I don't know. And that's amazing to me, because I grew up in a world, I mean, when I was in school, the kids were put in another room, special needs. You never saw them until they decided, oh, we're going to let them graduate.
Yeah.
And then they, and then you get to know them. And a lot of them I know now that were in the special education room, they're just typical kids. They're functioning, they're married, and they're whatever. So why did we do that? Why did we? I mean, and it's. I always feel I have a lot more empathy after my son got diagnosed, because I didn't know any better.
Yeah,
and that's the great thing about peer to peer. We're teaching at a young age that, you know what, everybody's not,
everybody deserves to be included.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, if like, you'll start the peer-to-peer, like, process when the school year starts, like 8th graders and all the schools. And I don't know about high school, what grade they have to be in to get involved.
I think that they now have, since we started getting it going in middle school, they now are allowing them as freshmen.
Okay, and that's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing to get involved in that. And like, even I know even with my son, the peer to peer, they've gone during the school day swimming. They've gone, in which is Grant's, his love is swimming. Yeah. So I mean, if people want to get involved with peer to peer, I mean, that's exciting for the new school year. If you're incoming 8th graders, or your parents are listening, I mean, they want to get involved in that.
Well, and we're trying to work on pathways too, also. To get, because what's good for this group of kids is actually good for all kids.
Yeah.
Right? And disability awareness and acceptance is is a small part of actually what we do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, we're going to advocate. Advocate is number one. That's really important. However, inclusion is the goal. Yes. And so how do we get in our schools? If we get, I always tell the kids that it's like that drop in the water, right? Yeah. So if I take a purple drop and I drop one drop in the water, it starts to spread out a little bit, and the water starts to change color a little bit. And the more drops I get in the water, I said, and so if I've got 45 mentors, right, and you all have 3 friends, that's over 120 kids now that if you do a good job of just modeling, you don't even have to go tell your friends what to do. Just model. They're going to see through you. People want to be a part of things that are going great.
Yeah.
And people want to feel included. So just in your ability and willingness to include anybody is going to create a ripple effect. Yeah. And so even if that kid isn't in peer-to-peer, just through being around you, you're making a change. And I said, and so if they now change 2 people, that's another 240 kids. You know what I mean? And not so much, like I said, I don't want it always to be just a disability focus, right? It's more of a what would the world be like if we all just let everybody belong?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Give everybody a chance to be included and feel included, and I
think that goes on in adult life too. I mean, it doesn't stop after you graduate high school or graduate college as well. Because I mean, like I said, I think I'm 53 now. I've learned a lot of empathy probably in the past 10 to 12 years, since Grant was diagnosed. But I'm speaking with Sheila Peterson, the reigning teacher of the year here in North Dakota. I know reigning. That does sound like a beauty pageant, doesn't it? And you're listening to 102.5 FM on radioaccess.org. You can listen there or wherever you download your favorite podcasts. But peer-to-peer I think is amazing. And with our foundation we've got involved, and I'm hoping to see it grow. I mean, it's really cool, because I have had those moments where I've gotten sad, where I get the email, oh, there's a school dance. And my son's very sensitive to sound. I'm like, how would that work if he went? Or they just had something with his school. They were doing a trip out East Coast. I'm like, I feel like, there's certain things, obviously Grant being severe, he can't do, but then there's also other things that he can do where we always feel like we try. Like there was, even when he was little, eating out at a restaurant would not be good. But now, yesterday, Father's Day, we headphones on. We're over at Bruno's having our pizza or whatever. I mean, you got to keep trying. But, I mean, you have, like, family vacations and things like that. So you got to keep trying. And I do feel with the peer-to-peer that people get it. And I always say some people get it and some people don't get it. I don't know if that's happened with your daughter where she maybe had a meltdown, or you've been in a situation and they just kind of stare at you like your kid's just being naughty. Yeah. And I'm just like, But you can tell by the look in some people's eyes if they get it or don't get it.
Sure.
And I want everyone to get it.
Right.
Because I've had people say to me, well, he doesn't look like he has autism. And
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You don't look like you're a, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. I think that's the thing. Starting him young with peer-to-peer is an important thing as well.
Well, and I think, like, you know, when you talk spectrum, there's not one textbook on how this all looks or plays out or whatever. And I can remember when Jace was younger, and this morning I was at the Governor's Innovator Summit, and he was talking about increasing childcare and things like that for parents, so that we can have, because he was just talking about, like, the workforce part of it is not having enough childcare, or people not having more children because, like, I can't find daycare. But I remember, and we were really blessed to find a wonderful daycare, but we went through 3 in a month's time during our diagnosis process, because we didn't know what was happening. And some of the things that were said to us in that month's time by some pretty, I think, well-traveled daycare facilities.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've had people tell me that she didn't, she wasn't going to work with her clientele, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, obviously thank the Lord or whatever you believe in, but we did get into a wonderful, you know, facility and like therapeutic community.
It's just getting it. But I've had medical professionals that we walked out of there and went, you're a pediatric neurologist? And they're like, I mean, Grant's nonverbal. I had someone say to me once, that's a meltdown. I had a video, and his legs were bugging.
Yeah.
He's always has kind of sensory issues in his legs. And they were like, oh, that's a meltdown. I showed the video. I go, that's not a meltdown. He's sobbing. He's in pain. And he's like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. He can't tell me what's wrong. You say that to the parents of a nonverbal kid.
Right.
And, you know, luckily my husband didn't punch him.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so it's in every, you know, and I think that in every walk of life we need to learn, you know, just don't judge book by its cover, as they like to say.
I loved when we had our neurodiversity party palooza.
That was good.
And the kids, you know, planned it all, put it all together, and we had a mom come up, and she was like, well, I'm sorry, I'm you know, because the kid was, it was fun, and there was amazing things, and it was meant to be a party. Yeah. However, it was very overstimulating, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, but any event with a bunch of people is going to be loud.
But, like, my goal, coming from my own background, is that it could be overstimulating, and that every kid could be there, and not anybody feel like they had to take their kid home. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, they're stimming, or oh, they're loud right now because they're matching the energy they're feeling in the room. You're right. So this mom was like, well, I'm sorry. I said, oh, no. And she looked at me, and I said, this is their day. Yeah. Like, let everybody be little beautiful butterflies running around, having a good time. There is nothing that anybody's going to do wrong here today. Like, this is meant to be a celebration.
That should be the one place you don't feel like you have
let
to
that
apologize.
hair down. Let that hair down.
I always felt because, you know, we go trick or treating as a family, and Grant, being completely nonverbal, did not say trick or treat. And most neighbors, they're really cool. But then I always felt like, do they think he's rude because he's not saying anything? Yeah. But I don't want to at every door say, oh, he's autistic and nonverbal. Yeah. And because he understands everything. So I'm like, at a certain point, I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to stop saying it. Yeah. If people give me that look, like, I'm going to be like, well,
this is who they are.
I know, because I grew up in that generation, please and thank you and whatever. Yeah. You know, I still call my girlfriend's parents by their last names. I can't call
me too,
that's a respect issue. That's why we were kind of raised. But.
Well, and the kids, like, even in peer-to-peer, like, the one thing that I start out telling them about were, like, the things that I did as a kid. Yeah. And I'm like, you guys are making a difference. I said, these are things that I would, you know, it's very embarrassing to share. Yeah, as a child, but, like, this was what the norm was. I said, you are the future. You get to decide how the world operates, and all the things that you see that are wrong with the world or right with the world. You are going to be in charge. You really are in charge right now. People follow your trends when they decide everything. I said, so what you guys choose to do with this is so important. And as long as you're trying to do something, because, you know, kids right away are, like, always afraid that, oh, what if I do this wrong, or what if I do that wrong? I said, your heart is in the right place. We can always make adjustments, you know. You know,
and I would encourage other parents out there, special needs kids too. And I know time schedules and work, whatever. But like I said, I've spoken to Grant's 2 different groups last year. And it's amazing because with Grant being nonverbal and stuff, they, you know, I do my spiel and they ask questions about him, which I had one last winter. they worked with Grant, but they really didn't think he could understand.
Right.
Because if you're not talking, they assume that you're not understanding. That's not true. He understands everything. I say, Grant, pick that up. And he looks at me like a normal 13-year-old. I'm like, pick it up. Pick it up,
Yeah.
But they don't, just kind of tell them a little bit, because every kid is different, or every individual is different. So I would encourage, special needs parents to get out there and maybe get a little more involved and educate as well. I mean, because I'm kind of a bulldozer, so
I'm a bulldozer too. But we, and we've been really grateful for all of your support of our program, and we're
going to continue it, man. I mean,
and it's because we currently don't have our principals have been wonderful about saying yes to things, but as you look at funding, there's only so much money out there for field trips and those types of things, and we've been able to go and do all these really fun, cool things, which really is necessary to create those relationships. If you really want to create friendships, you've got to go beyond just sitting in a classroom learning about a disability, or you've got to go have fun with each other. And those moments when you realize, oh, you're playing a game with Grant and Grant does something, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, just like you said,
it's a aha moment.
And so just funding those things right now is interesting, and trying to be able to do all the things that you want to do.
Well, I mean, you're relatively a newer program, and like I said, with our foundation, that's what I mean. I try to we try to promote those smaller little programs that where it can't really, you guys work hard enough. I don't feel like you should have to work at fundraising.
Yeah, well, and our schools have been gracious. Like I said, they've been very gracious to support us. However, it may come at a cost of maybe another group of kids don't get to, you know what I'm saying? So, and trying to figure out a way to still continue to do the things that we do that are making this go so well. Yeah. But at the same time, not be at a cost or a deficit to another experience.
And I do love with it that you, Whacter, and Simile and Horizon are all doing things together as a group. It's not just just my school or whatever. I mean, you'll maybe have it at one of the school's locations, but everyone's invited, which I think is kind of cool because I mean, I know a lot of special needs parents whose kids go to other schools as well. So it's you kind of, for the parents, are like, hey, how's it been? They always say, let's get together. And then you never do because you're all really busy.
Well, you guys should go when we're having events. And
we should.
You should. It's always fun, the first time you all drop your kids off for the very first time. And you all are and I know you're very brave, Dee, but even in your face, you mean I just leave my kid here? And I'm like, yep.
Yeah,
it's gonna be okay. Yes, it's gonna be okay. Go ahead. See you later.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's
it's because you never had that experience, right? You don't just drop your kid off at.
I mean, we have respite care or whatever. Sure. They're at my house and they're
right, but you don't just drop off at a sleepover or the movies or everything's so planned.
It still gives me a bit of a panic.
Right, but
I mean, he's at camp now. But if I had a sleepaway camp for him, and I'm sure it'd be staffed great, but I'd be like,
oh my gosh, yeah. I feel that, but I love when we get to the point where you all get to drop your kid off, just like every other kid gets dropped off at school for the school dance or whatever. I mean,
we're gonna definitely we'll have to have some chats and work on the next school year because we're gonna blink and the school year will be here. I don't want to say it.
Yes, and the BPS Foundation was nice. A week ago, they opened up a GoFundMe for all of our peer-to-peer programs also. So, and then all 3 middle schools just decided that it was going to be one communal.
Well, that's awesome.
Fund that would support all 3 of our middle school programs.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the way you guys are growing in events and stuff like that. So, Sheila Peterson, Teacher of the Year, Whacter Middle School. I'm going to keep saying that. Your reign is not over to the end of December. Yeah. So, I like to end my podcast. I ask 5 questions, which aren't too personal. Okay. They're a little personal, but it's kind of so people get to know you a little bit. Okay. What's your favorite hobby or activity?
Ooh. Okay, can I have, I know it's supposed to be my one favorite.
You can say more than that. It's okay.
I enjoy, riding my bike and being at the lake. And then my second thing is reality TV.
Oh, my God. You're a reality TV person?
Oh, bravo. Oh, my goodness. I love it so much. I do.
So where do you guys go? Do you have a cabin? Where's your lake?
We lease a lot right now down at Lake Chida at Red Rock Resort.
Well, I'm from right by Elgin. Oh, yeah, I know
we
exactly.
go to Sip and Chicken at least once a week.
Oh, that's our coffee too. Yes. Oh my God, yeah. I know Lake Chida. I know that's my home away from home. I'm trying to talk my daughter into going Farmers Union camp, which she doesn't want to go. She's resisting, and I'm like, I begged my father as a child to go to that camp. He would never let me go because we had to milk cows. It drove me insane. But anyway, what's your favorite food? Pizza. I know it. Okay, I was gonna say I know it's not fancy food.
Pizza.
I don't trust people who don't like pizza. I've said that before. I don't know what's wrong with people who don't like pizza. I just think that.
And I like a variety of places too. Like it just depends on the mood you're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whose sauce you like or whose cheese. Or
We hit a lot of places in town too. My daughter's kind of a pizza connoisseur.
Yeah.
She'll like, she'll.
I love pizza.
I don't think she's met a piece of pizza she didn't like. She likes pineapple. What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Salami pineapple.
Yep. You and Grace could have pizza together.
Yeah.
Favorite movie or TV show?
Nobody would ever pick this one. Favorite movie is The Devil Wears Prada.
That is a great movie.
I love that movie. It's about Vogue, basically, I think. Loosely.
Yeah, I mean, and Meryl Streep is they're also great in that movie.
And
it's just like
the Andy's like transformation as a character from the beginning to the end, and the fashion world, which if you've seen me at all, I'm very unfashionable.
It is a great movie though. That's kind of one of those you can watch over and over again.
I love it. I love that movie.
And then something people don't know about you.
I'm an oversharer, so you probably know everything about me. Oh boy, I don't.
Something from your youth, or something that people know about you might be a little embarrassed. I mean, you're kind of like me, kind of an open book.
I am such an open book that I feel like there's nothing that's really a secret. I completed a marathon once.
Oh wow.
Partially because my college coach wouldn't put me on the speed team. So, like, I was a starter, but, like, the team that did pressing, he called them the speed team. And then our last day, when we were driving back from nationals, they're like, well, what are you all going to do with your lives? And I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. And I was feeling a little spicy that day. And then secretly, I also wanted to run it because I figured that someday at my funeral, and somebody's got to carry my casket, they're going to be like, this lady ran a marathon, and then it won't be sad. You'll be like laughing and be like, yeah, that crazy lady. So
I always wanted to run one. I was running 5Ks, and then I used to do in town when they had the marathon here. I did the relay marathon, which is like do with the girlfriends.
Yeah,
I think the longest I ever ran was like the 6.2 or whatever.
Yeah.
But now at my age, I'm like, I can't even walk a my
No, I've got
my feet hurt and
2 fake knees and all that, and I'm not a good runner.
So which marathon did you do?
Minneapolis one.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that'd be amazing. I have some friends who are older than me that run marathons all over the country. Yeah. I'm like, God bless you. Yeah. I'm thinking of you.
Yeah, no, I wasn't good at it, and I got passed by an 80-year-old wearing a kilt at mile 13, and that was the whole situation. I drank out of a bottle.
But you finished though, right?
Yeah, barely. I ran, and they give you these pacing bracelets. And I'm like, if I run, like, in my training, I was running between 8 and 9 minute miles, depending on what my mood was that day, and after playing college sports, I was thinking, like, I don't have to work that hard if I don't want to, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's up to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I come across the 13, and I am running, like, 8-minute mile splits.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
just get caught up in the emotion of it all, and you're just running, and it's beautiful. And then we got to 13, and 13 through 18, I was having a talk with the higher powers because I thought I was going to die. And
you went out of the gate too fast, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And the guy passed me with the kilt, and he was 80, and while he was very positive.
You sure you weren't just delirious?
No, and he was an amazing runner. Like, I watched him from a long ways away. I'm like, well, if he can do this, I can do this. But he was a great runner. However, the low point was when there was no water left.
Oh my.
And so I did drink a Powerade off of the side of the road. It was there. It looked like it was pretty decent. It was like, there's no shame in my game. I'm just going to do it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But you finished. I mean, I probably would have given up, like, by mile 13.
No, that was my thing. Like, I couldn't quit because I needed my kids to know, like,
you started it.
You do hard things. Like,
yes.
Do hard things. It feels good.
Yeah.
When you know, when you learn.
The sense of accomplishment is going to be.
I can do hard things.
And a lot of that stuff is just mental. It's making yourself, like, I say that to my daughter all the time because she's scared to do things. And I go, everybody's scared to do something.
Yeah.
I go, I'm scared to do lots of stuff that I do every day, but I do it because, I'm stubborn.
Yes.
I will not be defeated.
Yes, okay. Most of the time I will say yes just because I don't want to be scared.
Yeah, I wish I could still. I enjoyed running. It's a time thing, and it's just like, when you get old and you get plantar fasciitis and you have other things that are happening. Children affect your body in ways that you will never know. You will know, but anyway. And the final question, and obviously we know you're not a drinker, but what is your favorite drink? It could be coffee, it could be sodas, it could be
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew? You're a Mountain Dew girl, huh? Do you do you?
I try not to because it's not good for me, but it tastes great.
Well, it's better when it's warmer out, things like that. Like,
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anything else, I guess, we want to get across, let people know a little bit about Sheila, just life in general, just finishing your reign as Miss North Dakota. And do they have a little ceremony where you get to like hand it off to the successor the next year?
Yeah.
Do they hold that thing?
Yes, they do. They do. And that will be at the end of September, and I'm looking forward to that. Not because it's being done, because it's been an amazing...
And nominations are open right now if people aren't going to vote for Teacher of the Year?
Nominations are done. They just, last Friday, had the County Teacher of the Year ceremony at
the
State Capitol, and now they're going through the process of reading applications for... once you're the county, then you can become the state.
Okay.
Yeah, so I encourage people, like, I don't know that I deserve this, right? So I think I nominated so many people this year I had to ask Jen Odell at the state help because I was starting to double nominate. But if there's a teacher who you think deserves it, please nominate.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, it's good teacher fuel. There's a lot of things that we do every day, and I'm not here to go, oh, teaching's so hard, blah, blah, blah. Every job's hard, right? Like, you work hard. We all work hard. That's not it. But, like, when we say we truly love your kids, we truly do love your kids, which means some days it really hurts, and some days it's the best thing ever, right? And so sometimes having somebody just tell you, like, that you're on the right track is really a wonderful feeling. And so, again, I don't feel like should have been the one, but I am, and I'm grateful for it.
There's a reason why you were selected, obviously.
But I encourage people, like, please do nominate those teachers.
Well, teaching's a really hard job. I do feel like the whole mentality has switched from, like, when we grew up to what it is now. But people got to realize that how many hours a day that these teachers are with your kids. They're molding them and they're shaping them. And you want, obviously they have their own, the challenge. Everyone's got a challenge. But, I mean... They're treating your kid probably as good as they're treating their own kids, and they should keep that in mind. That it is a tough.
When you wake up in the middle of the night and you think about a kid that you're proud, you know what I mean? Like,
you
get up to go to the bathroom. I'm like, ooh, I haven't tried this yet. I should try that. Tomorrow.
And it's amazing because this is why you were voted Teacher of the Year, because you do care as much about those kiddos as probably your own kids at home. Your kids shouldn't listen to this, but
I don't know if she's going to listen to this.
Well, it's amazing. I appreciate you sitting down, and like I said, we tried to schedule this, but Sheila's been so busy with her Teacher of the Year duties and things like that, but I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
It's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Sheila. Sheila Peterson, it's Drinks with D. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
You've been listening to Drinks with D. Find out more on Facebook.